Hello, and welcome to this mini workshop where I'm going to teach you how to get your company to pay for any external career development that you want to do. So, this is something that comes up quite a lot with my clients where they want to ask their company for the money for support with their career development, but they don't know how to do that. So, in hopefully about 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. So, let's get straight into it. So, first up, very quickly, for anybody that doesn't know me, my name's Tess. I'm a global leadership architect, which means I don't just coach leaders, I engineer the elite. And I want this to be clear that actually elite leadership doesn't need to feel really scary and intimidating. It's actually possible for everybody. And actually, that's my why. I want to show people that elite leadership is possible, but it doesn't happen by accident. It's not easy, it's not accessible, it's engineered. And it's engineered through systems, structure, ritual, and frameworks. Because we don't rise to our willpower, we fall to our systems. What's most important for you in this workshop is that I have spent 20 years nearly working across real estate, finance, and tech in some of the biggest names in some of the biggest companies. And I've been doing that so in marketing and leadership development. And I'm using all that experience today to tell you exactly what you need to know to get them to pay for your company. There's a little bit more there about me, but ain't nobody got time for that. So what you need to know is I believe that the best leaders aren't taught, they're intentionally designed. So why is it important? I've spent nearly 20 years working in these companies. What it is that they don't tell you a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. So I know after nearly 20 years how they work. I know what they want. I know the buzzwords to use when you ask them for stuff. I know how to get what you want. And I also know what they won't tell you. Some of which, well, most of which I'm going to tell you over the next 15 minutes. Another really important thing to remember when you're asking for support for your career development, when you're asking for them to invest some money into you, I want you to remember that you're not asking them for a favor. What you're doing is showing your company that you are really serious about your career progression and development. And it's really important to note that the more work you do on yourself and on your career, the more valuable you become to that company. So, doing this work is an investment which is going to benefit them. So, another thing to remember is that if or when they say yes, which they will, providing you watch the rest of this training and you do exactly what I say, um, when they say yes, make sure that you schedule your sessions within office hours and don't hide them. So I've had a few conversations with clients where they're like, "Oh, can we do a session either before or after work?" And the answer to that is no, because actually it's really important to show your company that you are having these sessions, to show them that this is an attitude of growth and continuous learning that you have because you want to invest in your progression. And this is really valuable. So don't hide it. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. This is a 10-point plan, or sort of 10 things you need to know to get your company to pay for your external career development. So, number one, anchor the request to a business problem, not a personal goal. So companies fund solutions to their problem more than they will fund self-improvement. So this doesn't mean to say you can't also anchor it to a personal goal, but the personal goal should be a secondary thing. The business objective or the business problem should be the primary thing. And it comes down to a reframe as small as rather than leading with, I want to grow my confidence and my leadership skills, reframe it as I want to strengthen my ability to lead cross-functional stakeholders so projects land faster with less back and forth. Remember, if the outcome helps the business, it's more fundable. Yes, it's going to help you, obviously, but if you tie it to a business problem, it's easier for them to say yes to. Number two, position the development as risk reduction. So I've put in here in brackets the four R's. The four R's are what leaders care about. If you've seen any work from me, I talk a lot about the four R's. So when you're a senior leader, you care about retention, which is people. You care about revenue, which is money. Risk, are you taking too much? Are you taking too enough? And sorry, enough? And reputation, what other people think of you, what your clients think of you. Leaders care about these four things. If you position this development investment as a risk reduction, for example, reducing burnout or attrition, preventing leadership blind spots, supporting succession planning, or avoiding costly mistakes in high stakes roles. These kind of things, these kind of examples are actually addressing all four of the four R's: risk, revenue, retention, and reputation. So, for example, this support reduces the risk of performance issues as scope increases. Depending on the business, now this is a little bit different these days, but senior teams are more likely to approve risk mitigation faster than growth. Now, I say that that's a bit different these days because growth is very much a buzzword at the moment. So I would put both of these elements into it as well. So put your growth in as well, but also put risk mitigation. Lead with what the business will care about. And the sad fact is they will care more about the business first and then you and your development. Number three, tie it directly to current role scope or next step responsibilities. So budgets unlock when development is linked to what you're already being asked to do or what you've been told that you need to improve. So things like if you're going to be managing more people, if you've got increased stakeholder exposure, if you're suddenly taking on regional or global responsibilities, you're suddenly responsible for bigger amounts of money, bigger budgets, or you're taking on more accountability commercially. And then, for example, the key line might be something like, my role has expanded and this support ensures I deliver at the level now required. Tie it directly to what that looks like. Number four, ask before performance reviews, not after. Timing matters much more than people realize. So you don't want your manager to think this is just like a sudden reaction because you know that you've got your appraisal or your end of review or any kind of review, or quarterly, monthly, whatever it is you have with your manager in like the next few days. You don't want it to feel knee jerk. You want it to feel intentional. What they don't tell you, and this is insider knowledge here, having been in it for nearly 20 years, is at the end of the year, it's actually the best time to ask for it. The reason being, if the budgets aren't used by the end of the year, they're lost. For in most companies, excuse me, most of larger professional services companies or any company that you're at these days, um, they are much likely to have a budget available for people development. What people don't know is that if they're not used, they get reabsorbed. So ask with this frame in mind at the end of the year. So I'm planning my career development, personal development, professional development, whatever you want to say for next year. Can I have some support for my career progression? And then you're going to put together a proposal which in outlined in a way that I'm going to finish talking you through now. So these are the key points that you need to remember, and then I'm going to talk you through how to actually write the proposal. New year is also a really good time to ask for the money because there's new budgets. The budgets are usually refreshed then. Sometimes it can be really good at the start of a project. It can also tie in really well if you've just got a promotion, if your role has expanded, or if something's restructured, if you've taken on new or different responsibilities, or after you've been given feedback, and that feedback could be good or bad. But you can turn that feedback into a really positive thing. For example, I've been reflecting after our conversation and I need to take some responsibility for my progression. You're right, I need to invest in improving in XYZ area. Now, that again, that's really positive, it's really proactive, it's really mature, it's really professional, and it shows some kind of integrity as well. Like, actually, yeah, I need to take responsibility for the fact that I need to make some changes. Five, offer clear outcomes and review points. If you can, tie this to return on investment. But it is a bit more difficult with stuff like leadership development to tie it to return on investment. Yes, they will see differences in you. You will see differences in you. You will feel totally different if you work with the right person and they do things and, make some sustainable changes and they change your mindset and all this kind of stuff. There will be some real change, but it's really difficult to prove the ROI of like how much more confident you are. So tell them, show them credibility. So offer things like 2 or 3 focus areas. This might be leadership readiness, capability improvement, confidence, any or mindset, like I said, all those kind of things. Give them a time frame and offer them a review check-in. So say to them something like agree objectives up front and review impact after 3 months. This signals maturity, professionalism, and accountability. Again, all of these things are helping you to present this like as though you are a senior leader. We want them to see you as a leader. 6, address the whole point around we have internal support. So address this objection before it's raised. This is one of the biggest blockers, and it's something that I talk about a lot with my clients. A lot of clients of mine come to me because I am external, because they want to know that anything that they say to me isn't going to be held against them by their HR or isn't going to be sort of taken by one of their peers and used against them or whatever. They want to be able to speak completely openly and honestly. And actually, this is incredibly important if you want to get the best out of the development support that you get. So preempt it with something like, I've considered the internal options, and this request is about confidential role-specific work that complements rather than replaces internal support. So this reframes the external support as additional to what HR offers. It's not criticizing them. And that's important because, again, that's more professional. Make the cost feel contained and reasonable. So even when budgets exist, vague costs or, sort of vague ideas of what's going to happen will stall decisions. So you can do things like offer a fixed talk about the fixed term of the program, give a clear cost breakdown, and potentially, depending on the personal company that you're working with, they might be able to offer monthly or staged payment options. Companies like contained investments with an end point. They want to know that it's going to be 3 months and 3 grand, or 6 months and 6 grand, or whatever it is, anywhere in between. Remember, if the investment of the work you want to do is more than the budget you've been told about, it's still worth asking. Now, again, this is insider knowledge here. So I was I was going to say lucky then, but actually I positioned it in a way that was really hard to say no to. So I don't know what the word is here, but maybe I was bold. I don't know. But in my previous company, was it my previous company, the one before, whatever. I was told that the budget was usually about £500 per person for support from the leadership development fund that they had, with a maximum that anyone had ever been given before being £2,000 per person. And that was extenuating circumstances. But I followed all the stuff that I'm telling you now, put together my proposal, proposed it in a way and discussed it with my manager so that he was fully supportive. And he then had everything that he needed to position it to the senior leadership team. And I got £4,500 signed off for I think it was like a 6 month, or might only have been three actually, sort of executive coaching program. And the reason being is because I asked in the right way. So no one else used the money. I asked in the right way and at the right time. And basically, like I said, the money was there and nobody was using it. So make sure you ask. But if you're going to ask for big amounts of money, which one-to-one work often is comparatively, then do it in the right way. Side note, the one-to-one work I offer is actually only 2,500, so much cheaper. And still worth the investment and very valuable. Okay, so number 8, position it as performance acceleration, not remediation. So language matters. And this is really interesting as well because high performers get funding more easily than problems. So you might want to think about using words like accelerating your effectiveness, improving your leadership impact, supporting your transition into leadership or into a new role or whatever that may be, rather than things like fixing gaps or struggling with or lacking confidence. You can still talk about those things, but talk about them in a positive way, improving confidence. But remember point 1 or 2, I can't remember, where the benefit to you is secondary. So actually we want to say the benefit to the company first. So borrow credibility, especially when the provider is external, which is what we're talking about here, and get them to write it. So the biggest hack for all of this is that actually, if you're working with an external provider that you want to work with, get them to write it. So I have written basically, for most of the clients I think that have got their company to pay for it, I have written the proposal for them and helped them to position and sort of briefed and prepped them in a way to position it so that they know how to kind of sell it in to their manager and then their manager's manager. Um, but you might want to use words like this. So, for example, in the case of my program, for example, it is used by senior leaders and high potential talent, or it's aligned to leadership capabilities that companies expect at the next level, or something like it's not generic training, it's bespoke, created to align with the role of the people that I work with and the company capabilities, pathways, and values. And this is important because social proof lowers decision friction. So, anywhere that you can show that the external provider is aligned with what the company wants, that adds credibility. And 10, last one, make it easy for the manager to say yes. So, many managers don't say no. They just want to make sure that it reflects well on them when they take it higher. So help them by first discussing it in a one-to-one and then propose it like a leader. So first of all, you're going to say in your one-to-one with your manager, which hopefully you have once a week, like, oh, I've been reflecting and thinking, and I want to put some money towards my career progression this year. You have a really good discussion about it. They will probably say, great, put together a proposal. Or if they don't, you can say, I'm going to put together a proposal. I'd love to talk you through it. Then you will write a short proposal, which I'm going to take you through the anatomy of which on the next slide. You can also, like I said, speak to the person or the company that you want to work with and get them to write it for you. So, like I said, I have done this a lot of times for my clients, and it works really well because not only do I know what they're going to get out of the program that they're working with me on, but I also know what their company wants to read. I know the buzzwords that they want to read about and all this kind of thing. And then also make sure that you align it to the values of the company or any leadership frameworks or career pathways, all that sort of thing that we've already talked about. So remember, it's really important to remember in this, your manager wants to make sure it reflects well on them when they take it higher, and they will do so, it will do so if it's been written well. So this is what the proposal could look like. So you start with, so it's essentially kind of a sort of how to sort of define a problem essentially. Um, and this is going to show that you're thinking like a leader. So first up, you outline the problem, which is that you need support in whatever area it is. But again, that's not the primary thing that we lead with. It's actually that we tie this to the business, we tie this to the business area, the business objectives, and you also tie it to what you know you need to improve and what they have told you you need to improve. Which brings me to the next point, which is the evidence. This is objective evidence that you need support in that area. So this is things like feedback from reviews or a lack of training in whatever area. And you can also base it on the criteria outlined in learning paths and career frameworks. Like we said, tie it back to the company values. So the evidence is kind of a list of the company values this, the reviews and my feedback have been this. I haven't had much training in this area. Based on the criteria outlined for the learning paths, I need to demonstrate X, Y, and Z focus to get myself to the next level, or improvement in X, Y, and Z to get myself to the next level. Therefore, I want to finish this. I want to complete this training. Then you list the possible options. And if there are internal and external options available, mention all of them. Add the pros and cons to all the areas and add costs to both options. And be honest about these. Some of them will be really good, some of them won't be so good, but try not to be too negative about anything that's internal. That is not going to help you. And if you're looking at external stuff, like we said, frame it as complementary to what's already on offer. Number 4, then we talk about the best option for you. This is really important. It's the best for you. So talk about the importance of things like knowing, liking, and trusting the training or coaching or development partner that you're going to use, and the importance of confidentiality. And the importance of potentially not having that if you choose an internal partner. Now, just on this, every single manager will tell you that their internal people are confidential. Between you and me, they absolutely are not. So you have to be quite careful about how you phrase it. And like I said, just mention kind of the complementary side of what it offers to what's already available through your HR team. And then we look at the outcomes. Actually, I've got something on the next slide which will help you for number 4. So just hold that in mind. And then we look at the outcomes. So what's the ROI? How can you measure it? How can you check in? And it might be something like you could do something really simple, like before you start the course, score yourself out of 10, how confident you feel in certain areas, how capable you feel, or even better, you could ask for external feedback, rating you out of 10 in 3 different perhaps areas or capabilities that you'd like to improve. And then after the program, you can measure it again, and hopefully you've improved majorly. But it's important as well how you feel in that, how confident you feel in these areas. So a quick bonus here, which is actual wording that I've used for my clients. So alongside the proposal, the following wording is helpful, or if you wanted to, you could sort of build some of this wording into some of your like parts of your proposal. So, for example, this has worked with previous clients of mine. So, I'm requesting external leadership development support to increase my effectiveness and impact in role. This is focused, confidential work designed to improve decision making, leadership capability, and delivery against business objectives. I'm happy to define success measures and review progress to demonstrate value. Why this works? Because it shows your commitment not just to your own development, which helps them, obviously, as we've said, but it's also your commitment to the company. So you're talking about your impact in role. Of course, if you're talking about getting up to the next level, then you could talk about the next level role. It also shows maturity and professionalism to address some of the concerns and questions before they're asked. For example, this is a really, really great addition to why you're asking for external support. 2 more quick further thoughts here. I think this is my last slide. So, 1, be aware that if you want to leave the company, if you're asking for a large investment, some companies may tie you in if the investment is a big one. So they might say, yes, you can have a couple of £1,000 or more even. But if we do this, you're tied in for 6 months or 12 months. I think this is not as common now, but it could still be possible. I think it is still around. So just be aware of that. Don't just try not to, if you're in a conversation with your manager and you're like, oh yeah, I want a load of money for my development, and then they say, oh yeah, but then they need to tie you in for however long, and then you suddenly go like, oh shit, then it's quite clear that you want to leave. So we don't want to give that away. So just think about that, or just try and find out if you can, if that's the case. Some companies are very open if that is the case, and they will put that on sort of internal what's it called, intranets and all that sort of stuff. And then the second part, which I think is a really important consideration as well, which is think about the ethics and integrity of your decision and your request. Because if you do want to leave and you're asking them for, a not insignificant investment, then just think about how that sits. I am a huge believer in leveraging the power of the universe, as you may know if you know me well. But this is this is your integrity at the end of the day. If you want to leave and you want to kind of join a new company, then actually it might be better for you to save this and ask the new company to invest in that as well. If they really want you to come and you can show that you're keen to progress your development, they will probably invest in that. Of course, I also understand that you might not want to go to a company brand new and immediately ask for investment kind of thing. But depending on what level you're at, that can be seen as a positive. So just keep those 2 points in mind as well. Okay, great. That brings me to, well, my second last slide, basically. If you haven't already, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat to you and, keep up the conversation. Good luck with writing this proposal. Remember what I said at the beginning, you're not asking them a favor. Investment in you is investment in them. And yeah, if you do want to invest in your leadership development, start a conversation with me. I can help you write it. I can help you put a program together of things that I know will help you step up to your next level. So if you're interested in doing that, drop me an email to tessa@tessagrint.com. Or if you've connected with me on LinkedIn already, then just drop me a message on there. Okay, thanks so much for being here. I hope you really enjoyed that. And I hope that I will see you in the future. Yeah, have a great day. Take care. Bye.